Well, here we are. I am back in God's country, though quite frankly, it's not been the greatest of welcomes. It's pissing down because of climate change. With the stuff that's making the earth boiling, which is why it's freezing cold, and there's climate change. But nevertheless, it's good because I'm over here in me new shacket in Smug Corner. Check me out. Now, I got this because I'm 52 now, and weirdly, I've started to feel the cold. I used to walk around in a t-shirt all year. Now, all of a sudden, started to feel the cold. Old age has caught up with me. I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted with most of you here, but nevertheless, old age has caught up with me. Started to feel the cold. Got myself a shacket, bit of dog tooth. Absolute bargain. Asda, 12 quid Black Friday. Couldn't believe it. You're probably saying again, I wouldn't give you a quid for that, Tone. Well, I like it. So I'm wearing it. And it's keeping me warm. So I'm quite happy. But more importantly than that, I am over here in Smug Corner. Because at the weekend when I was away, in case you're wondering, went to Newbury on Saturday for the Gold Cup and the racing. Went to West Ham Sunday. Didn't win the Gold Cup. Didn't win at West Ham. Not the greatest weekend in sporting achievements for me. But we did win a few bets. We still lost a few quid. We drank a lot of beer. And I got to go to the Billy Bonds tribute. So, pluses and minuses. Plus, one video to come out of it to be filmed later this week on sports stadiums. Why do they take the piss so much? That's not why I'm in Smug Corner. I am in Smug Corner because when I was away, I have a Twitter contact called Might Be Anybody. I have no idea of this man or indeed woman's name. All I know is their Twitter handle is called Might Be Anybody, and they find stuff on Twitter that I might be interested in and send it to me. So, over the weekend, he tagged me in this thing on Twitter. I had a look in between pints and went, that's interesting. I'll watch that when I get back. So, I've watched it. And it's actually a link to a video by Barry Crompton. Now, I know I get compared to Barry quite a bit. And I'm sure, Barry, if you're a big fan of my channel, well done. I think it's safe to say we deliver in slightly different styles. And I think that would be a very polite way of putting it. But what he did say, which was quite interesting, is only a quarter of the people that watch his videos are subscribers. So you've got to click the subscribe and you've got to click the little bell thing. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, do that. Thank you to Barry for that. And also thank you to Barry for highlighting what I've been saying for 2 years. And it's finally come true. And look at me in Smug Corner. Because there is a publication that I have frequented in the past called Fleet News. I mean, it's right up there with Road Sweeper Monthly. It's not FHM. It's not Playboy. It's not going to be suitable for you dreaming about your next holiday, and it's not going to be suitable if you want to knock one out. What it is good for, on the other hand, is Fleet News. And it turns out some rather negative comments regarding milk floats. Because I've had a good read of this. It's making me laugh already. I love it. Right. This is a direct quote from Fleet News. This is the trade publication for people that deal with lease companies and fleets of not just electric vehicles, all vehicles. And the reason that this was brought to my attention is that Barry said that for every EV that they lease, they need to lease 3 or 4 petrol or diesels to make up for the loss that the EV has because it has no value at the end of its lease. So they're having to lease 3 or 4 diesels for every milk float. That's on Barry's video. You can go watch all that. I then took this a stage further because I already knew that. It's hence why I'm over here, because I may have covered this subject several times. Now here's the quote. Direct quote from Fleet News in the month of November in the year of our Lord 2025. They said, Free-falling EV values are costing the lease sector millions of pounds. Now, can anyone remember a fat bloke that 2 years ago said, no way is this sustainable? This is not sustainable in any way, shape or form, because leases are based on residual values at the end of the lease term, and the residual value has to be more than the balloon payment at the end. Otherwise, you're in negative equity and the whole thing falls down. Well, funny you should say that. Well, it's funny I should say it because I did say it 2 years ago, last year, and again this year. I've done about 3 or 4 videos on this very subject. I think you'll find that it just means that the second-hand market has much more value in it. But that doesn't help the lease companies. Yes, but now you can buy a second-hand car really cheap. Lease companies are keeping the fucking car industry alive by leasing billions of pounds worth of cars. If they all go into negative equity, the whole house of cards falls down. It's unsustainable. Weirdly, for a sustainable product. I think you'll find, no, I'll tell you what, Floderati, I think you'll find, because, allow me to quote directly from Lex Auto Lease, part of the Lloyds Banking Group, who posted a £10.6 million loss. However, 3 years ago, they posted a £500 million pre-tax profit. That is how quickly milk floats can fuck up your business. 3 years, £500 million plus 10 million. And that's the difference between leasing milk floats and not leasing milk floats. And it's right there in Lex Auto Lease's accounts. You can read them online if you want. Have that. I'm over here, back in Smug Corner. We're only 7 minutes in. I've spent more time here than I have in my seat at West Ham. But however, as Jimmy Cricket used to say, because I think last time I said it was Frank Carson, there's more. And it was Jimmy Cricket. Because Steve Jones from Lex Auto Lease said, now this is another interesting one for 2 reasons. 1, it's come from one of the biggest leasing companies. 2, it backs up everything that I've been saying. What are the chances of that? Coming from one of the biggest leasing companies and published as an article in Fleet News, the premier publication for all things fleet, not the place in Hampshire. Because Steve said, residual values are about supply and demand. There's too much supply and not enough demand. What do you mean there's not enough demand? That's weird, isn't it? However, there's still more. Because they estimate, Fleet News, estimate that motor manufacturers have spent in the past 18 months on incentives to get people to buy milk floats. £6.5 billion. Just so they can keep up with their zero mandate targets. 6.5 billion of incentives. Now, I've already said that the lease market is on its arse. Proven with figures, actual evidence. Not, I think you'll find he's making that up. I'm not making it up, it's there. The bloke said it. And then I've also come up with 6.5 billion. So they've gone from making a £500 million profit to making a £10.6 million loss in 3 years. Manufacturers have spent 6.5 billion trying to get people to buy these things that they're still not buying. And somehow, I'm in the wrong. Because I think you'll find this is lies and misinformation. Well, if it is, take it up with Fleet News, the premier publication for all things fleet. They don't give me a job after this. It's a bit, literally, I'm promoting the shit out of Fleet News here. I demand a Fleet News jacket. And I demand my own column. I mean, granted, I'm not really your type of content, but takes all sorts, doesn't it? I mean, who knows? So, in short, me, Shackett, Smug Corner, Leases, shit, bugger. I think I've covered that quite well. However, there was another statistic which I thought was very interesting and is going to require more research, because in the 3 months to June 2025, there was a 7,000% increase in second-hand salary sacrifice leases. Now, for those of you that don't have a job in the public sector, salary sacrifice is what they do to incentivise you to take on government things like bikes and the cycle to work scheme and everything, and you get to get a car for a couple £100 a month on salary sacrifice, and you get it, it's a tax benefit because it comes straight out your salary before tax, so you don't get taxed on it. Therefore, you save a bit of money and you get a cheap car. Everyone's a winner. Now, imagine if you were trying to make everyone drive milk floats. So on salary sacrifice schemes, the only thing available were milk floats. And then at the end of the milk float scheme, the milk float was worthless and you couldn't do anything with it. Well, someone's got savvy on this and gone, well, let's take all the 3-year-old milk floats that are worthless and bang them out for £50 a month to public sector workers. And not surprisingly, they're going for it in their droves. A 7,000% increase. Because up until then, I would imagine there was none. So that could be just 7. Because if it was none to start off with, it could be just 7. But there you are. So they have found an outlet. But, again, by the time that's happened, the lease company have taken the hit. And they have lost the money. And they are never getting that money back. That money has gone. It's never going to be replenished through another lease deal for 50p a week. It's not happening. So the fact is that the lease model is broken, as I said it would be within 3 years. We're only 2 years into me saying it. I thought it would be next year. Well, next year's where it all comes down big time, I suppose. But there it is. Massive, massive losses for lease companies because the whole model was completely unsustainable, as said by me, sat here, and now sat here in Smug Corner, listening to Floaterati go, I think you'll find you're right this time, Tone, because I am right. That's why. The figures are there. It's all proven. Nothing else to say here. Your witness, Your Honour. Future my arse.